God can move mountains, and we can be the seed that he moves the mountains with if we'll just be the hands and feet of Jesus. And instead of browbeating, putting your finger in somebody's face, man, why don't you just meet them where they are and find common ground? And
You are listening to the Christian Music Archive podcast, part of the New Release Today podcast network. I'm your host, Dave Maurer. Each week, I share stories about Christ, community, and music, chatting with musical guests who you will find listed on the pages of the Christian Music Archive. There are thousands of creative men and women who have helped shape the soundtrack of the Christian faith, and we get to hear their stories, learn about how Christ has made a difference in their life, and hopefully along the way, we'll learn how we can be a better part of our community. Hello, friends. Welcome to the 97th episode of the podcast. Man, I can't believe we've been doing this for almost 100 episodes. One of my hopes in starting this was to get to know artists more than the, quote, stars whose music we listen to. For me, sitting down with these artists helps me realize that they are just regular folks like you and me. Sometimes when I chat with a guest, I feel like they're in press mode. Their publicist has told them certain things to say, and they're trying to spread the word about their current project. And those conversations are well and good, but every once in a while I sit down with someone and I feel like it's just two old friends sipping an iced tea on the back porch while we talk about life. Today's conversation is one of those chats. You'll hear the birds chirping in the background as we chat about life and share a song or two. I was introduced to Scotty Inman by one of my publicist friends who thought that we should talk. And it didn't take long before I felt like I was chatting with one of my best friends. Scotty is one quarter of the Southern gospel group Triumphant and has just released his first solo project called Anywhere Jesus Is. I invite you to join on the back porch in our conversation right after this quick word from Mercy Inc. If you follow the news at all recently, you are aware of the devastating crisis and the war that is raging in Ukraine. There are currently over 2.5 million Ukrainian refugees pouring into neighboring countries, and the majority of these displaced refugees are women and children desperately seeking for shelter and food and medical assistance. When we look at the chaos and suffering that is unfolding in the Ukraine, it is easy to feel helpless. But there are tangible ways you can give that directly impact the lives of those who have left everything they know in search of safety. Mercy Inc. is on the ground with its partners providing shelter, food, and medical assistance. Mercy is providing bedding in a church so children can lay their weary little frames for a night of true rest. Mercy is providing supplies for mothers so that they have what they need to continue making their way to safety on the other side of the border. Mercy is holding babies and calming toddlers for hours upon hours within the safety of a bomb shelter in an orphanage. Mercy looks like absolute relief on the face of an exhausted elderly woman who is wrapped up in kindness and transported from the border to a safe place in Hungary where she can find food and shelter. Mercy is love in action. Would you consider joining Mercy Inc. in providing shelter, food, and medical assistance to those displaced by war? Please go to mercyinc.org/crisis relief to give directly to the crisis relief in Ukraine. That's mercyinc.org/crisis-relief. The name Scotty Inman is no stranger to fans of Southern gospel music. As a founding member of the Triumphant Quartet, he has toured the world for more than 20 years and has been part of 22 album projects. He's also the recipient of 4 BMI Songwriter Awards, having penned songs for so many gospel groups, I can't list them all. But this year, Scotty's released a solo project called Anywhere Jesus Is, and I'm excited to hear the story about this album. So join me in welcoming to the podcast, Scotty Inman. Welcome.
hey, so glad to be here. This is really neat. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Your shirt already advertising the album, Anywhere Jesus Is.
Yeah, I'm getting free merch. It's great. I know people.
There
It's
you go.
awesome.
Well, there a lot of the folks that listen to this podcast may not know who you are. So let's just do some real quick popcorn questions about your music stuff.
Sounds good.
So what was the first instrument you learned to play?
Well, I'm a drummer, which doesn't really help me because, the whole drumming lead singer thing kind of went out with Phil Collins.
Exactly, yeah.
But or Don Henley or whoever it is. But I'm kind of one of those guys that I've not really picked up many other instruments, and it's kind of weird because I write songs.
Yeah.
And people are like, "How do you write songs?" And I'm like, "I don't know. It's a God thing." I kind of get melodies in my head, and then, I get with a co-writer, and we figure it out. But it's an interesting deal. Guitar is in the works.
Okay.
Let's say that.
There you go. You've been doing it for 20 years. You got to pick something up that you can make musical. Although I've talked to guys who make musical drums, so
Yeah, that's I don't know many churches that would agree with that.
That's true. So, what was your very first ever public performance singing?
Okay, it was a youth night at my church when I was 16 years old. I grew up in church my entire life.
Okay.
But at 16, I got saved. It's one of those deals where thought I was saved, went to church every time the doors were open type thing. But at 16, I was like, you know what? I'm not saved. And it's like right at that same time, we were at a youth conference, and I was like, God wants me to sing. I feel like he's putting a tug. He's pulling me into the ministry, but not as a preacher. He's pulling me in as a singer. And so I immediately started singing songs. I sang a song by the Gaither Vocal Band.
Oh, sure.
Entitled Temporary Home that Michael English sang. And I sang that at a youth night many moons ago. And so that was my first song, my first setting. Scared to death.
Well, we're going to hopefully talk a little bit more about that decision at 16 to become a follower of Christ. So we'll put a pin in that. We'll come back to that. But you're stranded on a desert island. What are your top 3 albums that you have to have with you?
Oh my. Wow. That's a good question. Let's see. I'm a big Brooks and Dunn's fan. Brooks and Dunn. So Brooks and Dunn Essentials.
Okay.
Yeah, let's go with Toto 4.
Oh, sweet album.
And let's go with Michael English's first solo album, self-titled.
So the very first one that had Mary Did You Know on it.
And Christ Alone, Mary Did You Know on it.
Yeah.
Let's just go with those 3 off the top of my head.
There you go. Because I heard an interview that you're listening to music all the time, so you've got a lot to choose from.
I do, and that's why I'm sitting there going, what? And so I'll get off here and go, wait, this one too. Wait, this one too.
You only get 3, so.
I know.
What artist would you say has had the biggest impact on you personally and professionally?
I'm about to be contradictory to what I just said a little bit. There is a guy, Phillips Craig and Dean, Dan Dean with Phillips Craig and Dean.
Yeah.
I probably listen to him sing more than anybody. And I got to meet him a few years ago, and we became great friends. We've gone on retreats together since. And so I'm going to say my dad, because he does what I do as well. But, sometimes in his own way, he's been my number one, hero.
Yeah.
But as far as outside of the family, the guy that can talk to you in a different way, Dan Dean would be that guy for me. Great heart for people. Great singer, songwriter, family guy. And he's just poured a lot into me.
Well, and how cool is it that you can actually be a friend with this guy too? That's pretty cool.
Oh,
yeah.
And it came from a songwriting session I had with Tony Wood, who had written with us both. He's like, "Who are your inspirations?" I explained Dan Dean was a big one. He's like, "Have you ever met him?" I was like, "Not really. Our paths have never crossed."
Right.
And so I got a phone call like 2 days later.
Oh, wow.
And he's like, "Hey, nobody's ever mentioned me as being one of their heroes, so I had to call you." I was like, "Well, sweet. Glad to be the first."
There you go. Well, in the introduction, we talked about the fact that you have released a solo album, and I can just imagine that fans of the Triumphant Quartet are going, "Uh-oh, what's happening to the Triumphant Quartet? You're not leaving the quartet, are you?"
Not the plans at all. No, sir. It is just honestly a tugging that I've had. I've had people for a long time say, "Why don't you do a solo record?" And I was like, "Yeah, why?
Yeah.
I don't know why you would do one," kind of mentality. Then all of a sudden I was like, you know what? I wrote a song about my kids and how to grow up slow that is really dear to me. And I was like, I'm the only one going to be able to sing that song.
Yeah.
It's very personal. And I was like, I have a whole catalog of stuff that I love that maybe nobody's picked up, and maybe it's because I was supposed to have done it.
Yeah.
And so but I didn't want to do just a simple table project or some under the radar. I was like, if I'm doing this, I want to, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. So I want to go for this thing.
Yeah.
And so the guys are cool about it. They understand. I'm a lot younger than them too, so they understand that. And I'm just trying to. I'm going to be touring it.
Okay.
Also, hope to do average a concert a month kind of thing.
Yeah.
When the schedule allows, but that's the plan, and it's a lot of fun. I'm telling you, I've really enjoyed making music and letting people see another side of me from the personal side of this is who he is a part of the group.
Yeah. So you're not going to be the opening act for Triumphant Quartet?
No, I think I had somebody ask me that the other day. Go, oh, that's sweet. Maybe you can do 25 minutes before the group comes on. I'm like, well, first of all, I'll be toast,
Right?
Because I sing 60% of I sing lead for the group, and second, I want to separate that.
Yeah.
I'll go out some other time. I may do a song,
Sure,
in the program, but nothing substantial. When people come to hear Triumph, they want to hear Triumph.
There you go. Well, now, a lot of people know this, but you actually are a founding member of the group with your dad. Mm-hmm. And you guys started about 20 years ago. And did I hear correctly that you guys got started in Louise Mandrell's theater?
Yeah, Louise Mandrell of the Mandrell sisters actually formed us 20 years ago. She was having a church service at her theater for a tourist.
Okay.
Come as you are type deal. Most people don't want to go to church on vacation sometimes because they don't feel like they have the right clothes. You know how that is.
Yeah.
Especially 20 years ago. That's kind of a little bit of a different point now. And so some of the guys would volunteer their time, preach, sing at that. So she got to know actually all of us in different times from that.
Okay.
And she wanted to start a group. Long story short, we all lived in the same town. And there's a whole story that I can go into. But the point is, the four of us live in town. We all came together, and we were there for 3 years.
Okay.
She left. The people who bought the theater kept us on for 2 more. And then we decided after those 2 years that we felt God was leading us to go on the road. And it was a great decision. Never thought, whenever we started the group, if you told us, hey, in 5 years, you guys will be going on the road, we'd be like, forget it. We ain't going to do it. But it's the best thing. It's the best thing that could have happened for our ministry. And it's been incredible, honestly. 20 years, I can't believe it.
Yeah. Well, I think of a lot of people who say, well, I got to be 18 and I wanted to get out of the house, but now you spent 20 years with your dad. What's that like? Yeah.
Well, it's different. Me and Dad have a different relationship. Obviously, I respect him. He's my father. But it's not a father-son got a thumb on you type scenario. Uh-huh. It's always been a like a better word, buddy thing. We're buddies. We're best friends. I respect him like a father. So there's no like, I mean, it's just worked out. It's a good situation.
So you're the lead singer. Do you get to tell your dad what to do once in a while?
I just get his medicine ready for him every day. I'm like, Dad, here's your pills. Make sure you drink plenty of water.
Yeah.
No, Dad started out as the lead singer.
Okay.
And then over time, he's like, you know what? Well, the music kind of evolved. We started out very, very traditional, and now we're considered, I guess, an edgier Southern gospel artist. And so with the morphing of the music, I became more of a I guess lead vocal in the group. So that explains why I'm the lead singer. It's not because of any other thing, but he just like, hey, you go do this thing. I'll be here if you need me.
Yeah.
But everybody's got their own strengths in our group.
Sure.
And everybody does what they do. I think they do them very well. And so everybody's got their, like I said, that's one good thing about a group is you can go, hey, you take the ball and run with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is your deal here or whatever. And I learned that on my first concert. Things I need to work on.
Well, that's going to be a little bit different thing when you're touring your album solo then.
It is. And I had my first solo concert May the 11th in Arlington, Texas. And it was a lot of fun. It was great. Great spirit. Fun to sing the songs live, to see kind of which songs connect.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything connects on CD, but live, what connects?
Right.
And there were some band guys there with me, so I was able to lean on them a little bit. But yeah, it's different. It's different. It's like, between songs, you know what you want to say, but you want to come out like you meant it.
Yeah.
You want to sound like, like you're not trying to figure out what to say, or you're not reading the script at the same time. You know,
Right.
it's being as personal as you can be. So, but it was all in all, I had no nerves, believe it or not, and it went really well. So that means the next one's going to be awful. Don't come, don't,
No, I
don't
hear
come to
you.
the next.
Yeah, what do they say? If the dress rehearsal is great, the performance is going to be awful, and if the dress rehearsal
Yeah.
just goes down the toilet, it's going to be a great show.
Yeah, I think my next one's Murray, Kentucky. That's gonna be one for the books right there, probably.
There you go. Yeah.
That's gonna be where it all falls apart.
Let's
No,
get okay, everybody. Get your cell phones ready. We got some YouTube fodder coming up.
exactly.
Well, we kind of alluded to this earlier, but you talked about accepting the Lord at the age of 16. You grew up in a Christian home. What was it that caused you at 16 to say, "Well, maybe I should make this for my own"? I think there's a real blessing in hearing people's conversion stories, because I think it's encouragement to us as we go through our life, trying to help other people or trying to make sure that our lives are right. What was it in your mind that said, that as a 16-year-old, oops, maybe I better make this personal?
Well, first of all, I think one of the biggest things that I've noticed, even in church work, and that's something I'll talk about in a second, but in church work is people being in church all their life and convincing people that they're saved because they've told people they're saved. And then at some point going, you know what, I'm not saved. Everybody thinks I am. I mean, I'm one of the leaders of the church. And so you got to get past that pride and go, listen, first of all, it don't matter what anybody thinks. Secondly, somebody needs to see you step out and go, hey, I'm going to make things right with the Lord, because somebody else is on the brink of doing the same thing you're doing.
Yeah.
And you need to be there for them. So if I have anything to say to somebody who's worried what people are going to think, because they may be you may be the Sunday school teacher, and you may go, I don't know if I actually, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I
think one of the best things you can do is just be real and go, you know what, time out. There's an issue. We got to make this right. And I think God will use that. I think God can use stuff like that. But anyway, at the age of 7, I thought I got saved. Fought a bunch of friends down, kind of thing. Just one of those. I got saved, and I was just always saved, and I was in church. Going to church was never an issue. I was at church every time the doors were open. My mom took me to church. My dad traveled a lot, so I was Wednesday night, Monday night youth, Sunday morning, Sunday night. And I'm sure something else happened on Tuesday and Thursday and Friday. Yeah. Some sort of after football lock in, fifth quarter or something. And it was fun. It was a place to be. It was a good place to hang out and safe. But at a youth there was a youth night at our church on a Monday night. I was 16 years old, and I don't even remember what the youth pastor said. I don't remember. I just know that night I was like, I've got an issue. Not only am I not saved, not only do I not feel like I'm saved, I'm one of the leaders of the youth. I mean, I was one of the guys that was looked upon as a leader.
Yeah.
Not a leader of the kids, but a leader of the pack, so to speak.
Sure.
But man, God just placed in my heart and said, you got to go. You got to go. You got to go down. And so I did. And it was ever since then, I know that I know type thing, Have I always been, he's never failed me. I know I failed him from time to time. I just turned 40 years old on May 13th. And so it's not one of those deals where I'm like, I got saved at 16 and I've been perfect ever since.
Yeah.
Because I think we could all agree that's a lie. Nobody would expect that anyway.
Yeah.
But I honestly, God's done a work in me in the last few years. We've been a part of a church plant in my home area where I'm leading music with my wife. And man, that's just really grown me a lot. And I will say the pandemic did a number on me spiritually, starting in a bad way, and then ended up being in a great way.
So I'd be interested in digging into that a little bit more. What do you mean by that?
Well, first of all, when the pandemic hit, my life just went into, I'm a singer. Yeah. I can't go sing now.
Yeah.
Do I have a job?
Yep. No income. You're off the road now. Yeah.
Do I have a job? All of a sudden, it's easy to say God is great, God is good when you're working all the dates you want to work, and there's no life is good.
Yeah.
And we've heard, but here's the thing, you've heard it your whole life. You sang it, God's with us on the mountaintops, he's with us in the valley. God is good no matter what. And you believe it. I believe it.
Yeah.
I know it. But then you're in it.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, this ain't cool, God. What's going on? I mean, like,
Yeah.
I mean, you don't say it like that, but I mean, that's basically what you're saying. You're going, this is crazy. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And you start doubting, you start getting a little, instead of being the guy that goes, God's got it under control. He knew this before anybody else did. This didn't catch him off guard. Instead of being that way, you're more, knee-jerk reaction in the flesh.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then on the flip side, we got a phone call from a pastor friend. He's like, guys, this is crazy, but I feel God urging me to start a church in the middle of the pandemic, basically.
Wow.
And let me tell you something. I was off the road for a purpose in my mind.
Yeah.
Because had I not been off the road for that year, I would have never been able to have been a part of a church plant.
Right.
And really get rooted in the church. And that's been the greatest thing that, I mean, like I said, I've been in church my whole life, but being in music, being gone so much, you're in and out.
Yeah.
You're in and out.
Yeah.
In and out. In and out. And sometimes we are the church. Well, of course we are the church.
Yeah.
But sometimes when we go sing, we're the church. We're the church service.
Yep.
Like we're never the fed, we're the ones doing the, what I'm saying?
Yep.
So it's like, sometimes you got to go, hey, I need somebody to like sing to me.
Yeah.
Or, preach back to me, or whatever. And so it's nice getting rooted in church again, where for a year, man, I was leading worship and getting really, I felt like I was getting where God wanted me to be on what songs to sing on that morning that would penetrate the hearts and my heart. And then hearing the sermon and being with my family in church. And it was just amazing.
Yeah.
It was just an amazing time, all because of a terrible thing. So God used it, which we know he works all things.
Oh, sure.
But so that's where the beginning of it, I was probably as low as I've ever been. But by the end of it, I was going, wait, this would have never happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
If, so there's my reason. There's the family. Everybody dealt with different things at different times during the pandemic. Some, it was just horrible. Some lost many, many people. Yeah. So I'm not discrediting that. But in my life, it was a true, it's just a true growth thing for me and my family. It was like, I was home a lot and it was great.
Yeah.
So
to parlay this forward, pandemic is slowly lifting. You guys are starting to get out and travel more. You're also going to be doing some solo dates. How do you keep this momentum from the past year of being fed, being part of that, going when now you're getting back on the road and you've realized how rich that year and a half or whatever was? How do you keep that going when you get back to the normal schedule?
That's a great question. And honestly, it's already kind of, I'm sometimes I can get weary, it's like I'm in the holds of the schedule.
Yeah.
And I need sleep, I got time for nothing else. I got to just make sure I get,
Yeah.
What's sleep anyway?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Honestly, and it's keeping up with the church while you're gone. It's watching it online. It's feeding yourself with what you listen to, podcast or reading.
Yeah.
And honestly, I will say that sometimes I do good at it, and sometimes I'm terrible. Sometimes it's just like, goodness, I got to get, I got to get back. I got to get back. I know, because you get in the ruckus of, wake up, set up, sing, tear down, hurry up and go to bed so you can wake up, sing,
Yep.
And you're like,
Yep.
or you're in a car going to a solo thing, or you're going from hotel to hotel, and it's not for the faint of heart. It seems glamorous, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. I mean, I love what I get to do. But sometimes you could easily get in the rut and you go, you know what? I'm read up and prayed up, and I'm good for a little bit, and then you realize you're not.
Yeah.
And so we got to be reminded every day.
Yeah.
And so that's what I have to remind myself every day, to be where I was during the pandemic.
Yeah.
When I was at church and with my family, and I think I answered the question.
Yeah, no, you totally did. Well, and it's kind of like, working out, or, as you're a drummer, I'm a trumpet player. If you don't practice for a little bit, you get rusty on those things. And it's making our spiritual walk as much a priority as our health walk, as our relationship with our family, as the skills that we do for our job, whatever that is, that all takes work.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Oh, yeah.
intentional that we have to say, okay, God, my time with you is important. And I don't know of anybody who doesn't struggle with that. I mean, it's not like breathing where you just wake up and, okay, I got my breath today. You know, it's that I gotta make time. I've got this schedule. I've got my kids are pulling at me, all these things, and that's a challenge.
Well, and I mean, let's just be honest. I mean, the things we do in our career are visible. You know, people see me on stage. You know,
Right.
they judge me by what I do during that 2 hours. Not judge is not the word, but they take away with it.
Yeah.
You know, behind closed doors, they assume and you know, it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to get yourself to do something when you know what I'm saying? Like nobody's going, I'll do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'll do it tomorrow. Or man, I'm tired. Or, I'm just going to sleep in and sleep right up until load in and skip reading this morning or skip whatever.
Yeah.
And so we're all guilty of, if we had 100 people waiting on us to come in and read the Bible, okay, I'll be right there. Okay. So,
yeah, it's not like it's tattooed across your forehead. I read my Bible today, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So, well, I think, that's an encouragement for all of us to know, we've got to be intentional about digging in and knowing that our relationship with Jesus is the most important thing that's going to feed us so that we can do our day job, whatever that is, so we can interact with our family and with our friends. Yeah.
And I'll say this, the days that I don't, which I wish weren't as many, it does affect me. It affects me. It affects what I do. It affects how I might treat people, or not treat people, but how I, any adversity, kind of how you handle adversity.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not where you need to be spiritually, you'll handle it wrong, or
Yep.
you're just in a wrong headspace, I guess.
Yeah, it helps your interactions. It helps how you interact with it. Yeah.
Period.
Yep.
When you're reading about the grace of God and His mercies and how, we're nothing, who are we,
Yeah.
and then you start treating people with that humility of God's grace and mercy, and it's a totally different thing.
Yeah.
But when you wake up, you're like, you jerk, let me tell you something.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a whole different deal. You're like, well, I know he didn't read his Bible this morning. What's the name called?
Yeah. Well, let's talk about Anywhere Jesus Is. You got this brand new album. It just released this last week for us talking. This episode's going to release in a couple of weeks, so it'll be last month that released. Talk about the album. What's kind of the message behind the album that you hope to get out with this CD?
Well, first of all, this is me to the core. This is, if I listen to an album, this is what I want to hear. I made a dream record, all the way from the style to the way it sounds, the sonic quality of it. I'm very weird about that. If a CD quote unquote sounds bad to me, it can be the best singers and best songs, but if it's got a bad EQ it ruins me. I'm weird about it. But it's honestly, these songs are, I feel like some trigger points that are talked about sometimes. Maybe they're not. Maybe they're talking about it in a different way. Like the first track on the album is called Home in the Dark. And it's basically, when did right become wrong and wrong become right? How could children of light be at peace in the night? Don't let the shadows of this world get a hold of my heart. I don't want to feel at home in the dark. It's that whole, we're seeing change every day, and I'm guilty too. You're getting used to it. You're getting used to the darkness. So whether you want to admit it or not, you're getting used to things that 20 years ago you'd been appalled. Now you're going, oh, here we go again.
Little by little the sun goes down and it gets hard to see all of the changes all around when they come gradually. It's getting clearer day by day. Whoa, yeah, we live in a long, slow fade. When did right become wrong and wrong become right? How could children of light world get a hold of my heart. I don't wanna feel at home, don't wanna feel at home in the dark.
I mean, I remember back when I was a little kid, when somebody, got a divorce. I mean, you talk about just like, whoa, dude, like what is going on? Like, this is crazy. Well, now it's like, what? And that's not good. That's not right, And you can go down the line now on different things. You're going, wow, this should bother me more.
Yeah.
This should bother me, But we are children of the light, and we're not children of that should be persuaded by darkness. But that's what the devil wants. The devil wants us all to live in a slow fade. It's a gradual. He's seeking whom he may devour.
Yeah.
As far as the title cut, Anywhere Jesus Is, I've written songs about streets of gold, walls of jasper, gates of pearls. I've done it, and no, those are great things.
Yeah.
But man, if Jesus ain't there, I mean, I don't want to go. What's the use? And also we started this church. We started in a log cabin, and it wasn't nothing fancy. It wasn't a church. It wasn't a steeple. We didn't have a choir loft or organ pipes or anything like that. You had to pass a bunch of cattle to get there on a dirt road in the pond, which is exactly what the lyrics of this song is.
I think about walking down Main Street and the folks that pass my way, seeing old friends and family and talking about the day when this is what we dreamed about, what we were living for. Now we're standing in the wonder, just being with the Lord. Don't need to be streets of gold, they could all be red dirt roads. I'm not looking for a crazy mansion, I feel at home in a humble cabin. Don't matter about a crystal sea, a little pond is cool with me. And I gotta say, at the end of the day, it comes down to this: heaven's anywhere Jesus is.
But yeah, so anywhere Jesus is just pointing out the fact that Jesus can be anywhere. Yeah. He can be on a dirt road, he can be at the pond, he can meet you anywhere.
So the whole thing of that means if we are the body of Christ, which is what I think you're trying to say, and we are in a place where there are people who don't know Christ, Jesus is there because that's our mission field. That's where he's putting us to be. And my personal thing, the last about 2-3 weeks, I've been really working at waking up and saying, okay, Lord, I want to follow you. What are we doing today? It's not, please bless what I'm doing. It's what are we doing today as a family? And how am I following you? And for me, that's kind of what you're saying is anywhere Jesus is where I want to be.
Exactly. No, you're totally right. I think that song's twofold. The one fold is without Jesus, what is heaven?
Yeah.
If Jesus isn't there, then what? On the flip side, it's God can be found away from Sunday morning. God's with you more than just Sunday.
Yes.
He leaves with us.
Yeah.
He comes with us. So anyway.
Forever in his presence. Yeah, yeah. My heart's already there. Don't need to be streets of gold. They could all be red dirt roads. Not looking for a crazy mansion, I feel at home in a humble cabin. Don't matter about a crystal sea, a little pond's cool with me. And I gotta say, at the end of the day, it comes down to this: heaven's anywhere Jesus is. Heaven.
It's 10 tracks. It's an old school 10-song album, no EP, I want to make an album. But yeah, this is my heart, man. This is my heart. I mean, I think these songs, like I said, they're all different in what they say, different topics. But some of them just really hit some unique. I got a song called Save People that's going to be the next single. And it's basically talking about how saved people serve people and served people get saved.
Interesting.
It's a nice little riddle that I got from a sermon that I heard. See, there you go again. If you'll listen to sermons and read, you can get songs out of it.
There you go. Yeah.
That you can tell other people about. But and there's a line there, and we've heard it many times. Sometimes people don't care how much you know till they know how much you care.
Right.
I mean, why do you think there's a World Changers? Why do you think there's a Brothers Keepers? And why do you think there's it's that being the hands and feet, like you said earlier.
Yeah.
And where you can get in their yard, help them with their yard, and go, hey, by the way, soften them up, with being Christ-like and being like Jesus, and not just walking up going, let me tell you something, you sinner. It may be true, but that's probably not the best way to get your point across.
That's right. Right.
And two, like social media, it's like we're all on social media, all these Christians, and we're arguing over our doctrine or whatever, or arguing over something. And I'm thinking, man, what non-believers gonna look at that and go, man, that looks like fun. I think I want to join that.
Yeah. My pastor literally this Sunday was talking about one of the best military conquests is to divide and conquer.
Mm-hmm.
And what has social media done to the church?
Oh, yeah.
It's divided us and conquered us. And we are falling directly into the devil's trap of being divided and conquered because we're arguing over stupid stuff instead of banding together in unity to battle and be God's warriors to battle the darkness.
Listen, so social media has been great for so many things. I mean, social media has been amazing for the church in some ways, and for music, and for you can name it, but man, the devil has used it.
Yep.
I mean, he has used it to be divisive, like you said, to cause doubt, to have preconceived notions of people that you wouldn't have known had they not been on social media. Some people need a manager on what not to just just get them off Facebook.
Yeah.
Please. I've seen some pastors get on Facebook and say things. I'm going, y'all, whether or not you want to admit or not, you're held at a different standard. You can't do that. You can't. We're all equal. We all, sin is, but when you're presenting the Word of God, you are held to a different standard. It's just the way it is.
What does the Bible say? The devil comes to steal, kill, and destroy, and he's taking some very good things and destroying because he's twisting them, and that's what he's here to do. And as long as we as Christians don't recognize that and just go with it, and like you said, just be, that's whatever. We're falling into the trap. So,
it goes back to that song "Home in the Dark" on the record. It's just that song really speaks to that.
Yeah.
But then it intertwines in with the save people, serve people, and God can move mountains, and we can be the seed that He moves the mountains with. If we'll just be the hands and feet of Jesus, and instead of browbeating, or putting your finger in somebody's face, man, why don't you just meet them where they are and find common ground? And I'm not saying condone or
right.
If they ask you what you believe, say, this is what I believe, but this is why I believe it. And, I may disagree with you, but I'm gonna love you.
Yeah.
I love you as a brother or sister, and here's why I think. You never know. I mean, I've had a case in my life recently where I got to know somebody who is not in church at all through something that and so and small talk led to, after about 2 months, and first of all, when I say this, please know I'm not bragging on myself. Okay. I'm bragging on God. But please know that. But small talk led to, what do you do? And I said, I'm a Christian singer, and I sing Christian music. He's like, I knew something was. He's like, you've been around here and you've heard us say things that. He said, man, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you've heard us know some language or whatever. I'm like, he's like, but you never told us to stop, or you just kind of did your thing, and you didn't join in, or whatever. And I was like, well, I forget what I said. I didn't say anything like, well, it don't matter. But the point is,
right? Yeah.
He appreciated how I handled it. And honestly, I didn't know I was even, I was just doing what I felt was right. I knew that if I would have said, "You're offending me, stop it now," I would have never reached him. But now, he's wanting to come to church, and he's wanting to bring his family.
Very
And
cool.
He's got my CD and the group CD, and he's proud of it. And he listens to it. And he told me him and his kids are listening to it at home. And
Nice.
it's probably the only Christian CD they got in the house. I mean, just be quite honest with you. So that's a great example that I learned from myself. And I tried to say it without giving too much away, because just in case I don't want the guy to feel weird.
But the door was open because you were a friend to him. You weren't condemning. You were loving him. You were accepting him. You were being part of his community, so that when you shared what you did, it's like, oh, I'm interested in knowing more about that.
Yeah, I'm into this guy. This is I want what he's got. He's and I didn't condone it. I didn't go, man, that's okay, bro. That's all good, man. Don't worry about it. Yeah, I didn't say, I just didn't go there, And he knew where I stood, after the fact, but he also knew where I stood before the fact, because of something was in his head going, so what's your story? It was almost that, okay, man, you've been coming here for a couple months. What's your story?
Yeah.
And so it led to a cool little breakthrough with him. And we talked about Christianity. He's had a bad run of Christianity where he got burned by the church at a young age. And I told him, I said, man, I said, don't blame God for that. That was a man thing that God didn't burn you. Man did, don't. And that's the only way I could answer that. And so, but anyway, yeah, we're working through that, but also maybe more aware of some other things that are coming down the pike to be ready for, because I feel like God puts those things in front of us all the time. We just got to be ready.
Well, Scotty, I want to end with one thing. Every week I send out a newsletter to a bunch of folks who've committed to praying for artists. How can we specifically be praying for you in the days and the weeks that are coming up?
Wow. I think twofold. I think one is praying for my family through this. I think sometimes people forget about the family who is behind while the artist goes out.
Right.
And I know the applause is for God, when you're, I know ultimately we're applauding the goodness of God, but the family's back at home and they're not getting applauded, and the wife's not getting applauded for running kids around because the dad's gone singing, and they're really the backbone of this whole thing, honestly. I mean, I just put more on their plate, this whole solo thing too.
Yeah.
And so I pray for my family, they're in the ministry with me, they're in this with me.
Yeah.
And also just pray that I will, my heart will be guarded and everything. There's so many things thrown at you out here. So I think just praying that God will continue to guard, my heart will be guarded.
Okay.
From the things that the devil can throw at me, that's huge, man. That's, like I said, when you're doing kingdom work, the devil doesn't want that. And so my family and my heart.
Thank you for this encouraging chat, Scotty. You've reminded me of a couple of important things. First is something that we've been talking about on this podcast for the last several months. How can I be intentional about being with Jesus and working alongside him on a daily basis? What does that look like to say yes to God and be ready to serve alongside him? But to take that a step further, there is some recognition that we are dealing in a battle with darkness. The devil is doing everything he can to turn our attention off of Jesus. Scotty's song, Home in the Dark, reminds me of this illustration. If you take a pot of boiling water and put a frog in it, it'll jump right out. The heat is overwhelming and dangerous, and the frog knows, I got to get out of here. But if you put that same frog in a pot of cool water and then slowly heat it up, you can boil that frog to death. It doesn't recognize the gradual temperature change, and before he recognizes the danger, it's too late. 1 John chapter 2, verse 15 says, Do not love this world or the things it offers you. For when you love the world, you do not have the love of the Father in you. For the world offers you a craving for physical pleasure, a craving for everything we see, and pride in our achievements and possessions. These are not from the Father, but they are from this world. And this world is fading away along with everything that people crave. But everyone who does what pleases God, well, they'll live forever. In John chapter 17, verses 14 to 16, Jesus is praying before he ascends back to heaven and asks God for protection over his disciples. I have given them your word, he prays, and the world hates them because they do not belong to this world. Now, I'm not asking you to take them out of the world, but to keep them safe from the evil one. They do not belong to this world any more than I do. So for me, today's conversation is a reminder to stick as close as I can to Jesus, doing what he asks us to do, so that even though I'm in a fallen and dangerous world, we can, together, make a difference for eternity. Ultimately, we need to be careful not to be comfortable at home in the dark, but instead, we need to live in the light, anywhere Jesus is. This week, I featured Scotty Inman's song, Home in the Dark, Anywhere Jesus Is, and I'm going to close the podcast with his song, Saved People. You'll find these songs on Scotty's album, Anywhere Jesus Is, which is brand new, and you can pick it up anywhere you get your music. Of course, I recommend that you pick up the album directly off of Scotty's website, and I'll put all of Scotty's links in the show notes for this episode. As I always do, I want to thank you for joining me for the conversation today. I'm grateful that we get to spend this time together each week hearing about God's amazing faithfulness. As a regular listener to this podcast, would you consider helping me fund the work that I do? When you contribute any amount each month, you not only help fund the podcast, but you also get to help write the questions that I'm going to ask my guests. Learn more about all of this over at christianmusicarchive.com/donate. Next week, I'm talking with pastor and singer Calvin Bridges. Calvin has been recording gospel music for more than 50 years, and I'm looking forward to sharing this conversation with you. So be sure to join me next week and every week when I share stories of the people that you'll find on the pages of the Christian Music Archive. And to close things out, you know what I'm going to say? God loves you. In fact, he's crazy about you.
You might be that voice in the choir on Sunday morning, or be a welcome smile for that new face in the crowd, or be that silent prayer for somebody who's in need. God'll move a mountain, and we can be the seed. Oh, save people, serve people, get saved. An act of kindness can shake the blindness standing in their way. Sometimes the best witness is what you do, not what you say. Oh, save people, serve people, get saved. They get saved. The world is full of lonely, broken hearts on every corner, but we can be a light to the lost and show them love. You might know the Bible quote, the hows and whens and wheres, but some people don't care how much you know till they know how much you care. That's right. Oh, save people, serve people, get saved. An act of kindness can shake the blindness standing in their way. Sometimes the best witness is what you do, not what you say. Oh, save people, serve people, get saved. They get saved. It's in the way you talk, hallelujah, saved. It's in the way you live, it's in the way you give, hallelujah, saved. It's in the way you walk, it's in the way you talk, hallelujah, saved. It's in the way you live, it's in the way you give, hallelujah, saved. Oh, save people, serve people, get saved. An act of kindness can shake the blindness standing in their way. Sometimes the best witness is what you do, not what you say. Oh, Oh, save people, serve people, get saved. They get saved. It's in the way you talk, it's in the way you live, it's in the way you give. They get saved. It's in the way you talk, it's in the way you live, it's in the way you give. They get saved. It's in the way you talk, it's in the way you live, it's in the way you give. They get saved. It's in the way you talk, it's in the way you live, it's in the way you give. They get saved.
It's time for another Mischievous Maurer's Miscellaneous Misquotes.
You know when you have that bag of salad sitting in the back of the fridge and it starts getting brown and has all that gross water in it? Yeah, donuts never do that.